I'm so glad you're finally here. I feel like I've been waiting for ages. Anyway, I'm happy you're here. Should we have a chit chat? Are we all ready? Should we get sat down? I'm going to be talking about the makeup industry today because I just feel like it's been a while since we've sat down and gone through some of the most recent stuff that's been happening and generally my whole vibe with what's going on. This is just going to be more of a chit chat. I did do like more of a whisper in my last sit down, but this one I just thought I'd go a bit differently because why not? So just let me know what you think down below. The makeup industry has changed so much over the past few years, and I do feel like a lot of it is down to influencer driven buying habits and just generally how the internet has changed the makeup world. Previously you would have to have like really beautiful big stores to be able to attract customers with like a large marble tiles and all the lighting and the scents as you walk in and the air conditioning or the heaters in England because it's very cold sometimes. Obviously with the rise of the internet, suddenly things became more price driven, and that became, I think, very challenging for stores to keep up with because obviously it's cheaper to sell something online and not have to pay like for a store to be open if it's just stocked in some efficient warehouse and shipped straight to a customer. But despite that, stores have managed to stay open and keep fighting because they've been focusing more on their store experience. And obviously in addition to that, I think a lot of us like to go to the store and like try makeup, not because we necessarily need to see the shades, but sometimes I think it's just nice to like go to the stores and like try things and like play for ages. Like I honestly, one of my hobbies in the past, like maybe when I was like a teenager and I first moved down south, I didn't really have that much to play with, but I would go to like Body Shop, for example, the store, and I would spend like an hour in this store. I literally remember so vividly. I would be shopping, like just trying every single body butter. I had to open the tester, I had to smell it, use a bit. I'd go over to like some of the liquids that they had, like the liquid body lotions. I'd go over, check out their like general skincare. They had like different lines of products, and like I always wanted to find something to purchase, but often like I didn't fall in love with something. And back then it was super expensive for me to purchase anything. So I really, really had to like it to go in there and actually purchase it. But it didn't stop me like walking around the store and just like experiencing the whole thing, right? And I remember like they weren't really that big on makeup at the time. They kind of had like a little section, but Body Shop, I always remember the hemp hand creams. Like I remember they had those. And they also just the body butters, like the shea butter body butters. I think my favourite was the passion fruit one. I actually bought quite a few of those back in the day. And I actually don't know like why I bought them because they smell amazing and they are really cute, but they were kind of pricey like at the time. I guess now they wouldn't be pricey in today's money. Not that it's changed that much, but just I think the market is a lot more competitive. I just remember them smelling amazing, but I think the issue with body butters, and maybe you feel like this, maybe you don't, is that I always find body butters are just cold when you put them on. And I think if you live in like a very hot climate, like Florida, for example, although I think it's probably a bit too humid to wear body butters in Florida, maybe Texas or like Las Vegas, like a body butter could be amazing because it's like really cold and soothing, but in England, who is doing that? Like you get out of the shower, your house is cold, and then you're gonna put like a cold body butter on. Like I haven't even seen a body butter for ages. I have a few creams and stuff. I don't even use that kind of stuff anymore. I just focus on skincare. But I just remember it being so much fun looking at those sorts of things. But you know, one thing I do remember about the makeup industry back then is that I remember the drugstore literally had no good makeup at all. There was really nothing in the drugstore that was good. I remember I used to, like at the very beginning, I played with a brand called Collection. Oh my god, so this is kind of a personal story. I would never tell anyone this usually. It's like super, super private secret. But in my younger days, like 2 years ago, no, a few years ago, one of my friends really awkwardly gave me a hickey when we were like out drinking, right? Because I used to drink a lot more now. Like I used to drink a lot back then, like not a lot, but like I would go out and go to parties and go clubbing and stuff like that when I lived in central London. But now I don't do that at all. I kind of just stay in and enjoy myself. I don't even know what I enjoyed when I used to do that. I think I just enjoyed the chaos, to be honest with you. But I think we'd been going around Soho and we'd gone to a few different places, and he was hooked up. He knew everyone. He knew every bouncer. I don't know how, but he would always chat to them. And there was this underground club and it was super, super dodgy. It was expensive looking, and I think it was probably expensive to get in. I don't really remember. Like I never had to, when I lived down south, I never had to pay to go into clubs or pay for drinks or anything like that. Not because I had an agenda when I went out, but naturally I would just, I don't know, I feel like I was just with people that knew people, so things just happened, which is pretty bad, to be honest with you. I think now I'd probably be like a bit more aware of what's happening, but back then I was very chaotic, shall we say. And yeah, I remember going into this place and it had like a light up dance floor, and I'm pretty sure it's been renovated since then. It doesn't look like this anymore. But we were sat down in one of these booths, and I'm sure it was like a really famous club because Elton John had been there a few years ago in this like big corner booth, and like loads of famous celebrities, not that I care about that kind of stuff, used to go to this particular club in central London. So it kind of had that status, and it had like curtains, so you could like close the booths, I'm guessing, so all the celebrities could go do cocaine in like private. That's just what I'm guessing it was for. I never touched anything like that, obviously, just not really for me. But yeah, we were sat there, and I remember this guy kind of walked up to us, and I don't know what he was thinking, because the guy that I was with, he's a bit mafia, to be honest with you. Like, basically, I was out one night, and I think I'd been to see a cabaret show. This is when I first moved down south, like in the first few months, I think. And my phone had run out of battery, and I was kind of stood there in the middle of Soho. I remember it was by Ann Summers, the sex shop, by this passageway. And I was kind of just like looking out, and I was thinking, I don't know how to get home. I do not know this area well enough. And I was like, I should ask someone. But I kind of just chilled out. I was like, you know what? Maybe I'll see someone I know. Obviously, that was not going to happen because I just moved to a new city. I didn't know anyone. I knew like 2 people probably. But this guy walked over to me, and he was older. Maybe he was like mid-30s or like early 30s. But he was like, I'd never seen a guy like him before. He was super, super like mafia looking. Like, he was like, I don't know how to describe his ethnicity. It wasn't African. He said he was from Kenya, but I didn't believe him. He had like a slight Somalian look to him, like Somalian African, for example. That's what goes through my mind when I think about him. Like handsome, but like just like a big, strong guy. And he had like these bright red shoes on. I don't really know anything about shoe brands, but I think they were Jordans or something like that. They had like the guy with the hand throwing on them. And he was just like very fancy dressed. Like he looked like some sort of celebrity. And it turns out he was a football player. And he told me that he'd come over here during the Olympics to, I think he said he was supposed to play for Kenya or somewhere else, but he didn't qualify, but he was still over here for some reason. I don't remember the story specifically, but I didn't trust it. I love him to pieces, but I didn't trust the story just because he was just so suspicious. Like, I remember he kind of walked up to me, and he was like, oh, hey, what are you doing? And I was like, oh, I was waiting for my friend. My phone's run out of battery. And he was like, oh, I actually just lost my friend. Do you want to get a drink? And I was like, yeah, okay. So I went with him, and we went to this bar that was literally like 2 steps away. It was literally just on that corner. And obviously he knew all the staff. And he was like, what do you want? You can have anything. And I was like, what? Like, I'm not even thirsty. But he was like, I'm going to get you 50 shots. And I was like, what am I going to do with 50 shots? He was like, Sambuca, 50 shots of Sambuca. And I was street smart, like I was relatively street smart. So I didn't feel like he was going to try and like get me drunk and like do anything like that. But I was cautious, right? But he actually went to the bar and like got loads and loads of shots for some reason for the 2 of us. Like, bear in mind, Sambuca makes you sick if you have more than like 2 or 3 shots. But when he went to pay, I kind of watched him because like, I just was quite shocked with what was happening. He was very extroverted, very loud, very outgoing, really funny, which is why I walked with him and I got a drink with him. I would never go with a normal stranger and go get a drink like that. I just think I'd be a bit like, no, thank you. But he was so funny. And he had like an accent as well, like almost like a Nigerian, African accent. And it was really cute the way he spoke. Like, he was very endearing and very loving. And when he came to pay, he had these like fancy jeans, this holographic like jacket without the sleeves, and like a denim underneath it, and these glasses, and it was all like cottony and stuff, or like sheepskin. And he pulled out a grey envelope, and I remember I didn't see specifically like how much was in it, but I just remember him lifting out this envelope, and I was like, who carries a grey envelope full of money? Like, what? And ever since then, throughout our entire friendship, because we stayed really good friends, we've gone out loads together, actually, not recently at all, but like when I lived in Manchester, he came to visit me once because he was seeing some friends, and I picked him up and we went for a drive, and I went out for a drink with him. And when I last went to London, maybe 2 years ago, pretty much before COVID, obviously, one of his friends was having a birthday party, and he hired this huge boat that was going up and down the Thames. So he kind of just brought me along for that and was like, oh, come down, we'll have fun. So that was really messy because I don't drink, and I obviously drank during that trip. But regrets, I was going to say no regrets, but honestly regrets, like I just don't like drinking anymore. Like I feel like when I was younger it was good because you're not really sure of yourself, and it gives you a chance to like let your guard down and like reevaluate yourself. But like now I just don't need alcohol. Like maybe now and again with a friend maybe, but like generally speaking, I'm just like, no, I don't want to get drunk, I don't want to go drinking, I don't want to go to a club, I don't want to get groped by a bunch of creepy old people. I just don't want like all of the drama that comes with that. Right, I'm happy to stay in my house, to play some Sims, do some ASMR, have a chit chat with people. But anyway, we sat down, and like I think the bartender kept like coming over and talking and stuff like that. But I just remember he had like really like I remember the shiny jacket and the red shoes. And I think we went somewhere else afterwards. I do kind of miss this as well. It was fun back then. But I remember, like, I think we were in this one place and he was like, babe, I'm going to go to the toilet. Can you get us a drink? And I was like, yeah, of course, sure. And bear in mind, I was broke as shit. Like, I just left home. I think I was 17 or 18. I had no job. All I had was savings from when I worked in the NHS, and he paid me something like £6.20 an hour for night shifts. So it was hard money that I'd worked for. Before I was getting up, and he sort of was like, ooh, and he pulled out his envelope, and he was getting out a £50 note to give me. And like, I wasn't looking, but I looked obviously, and it was like this envelope was like full of £50 notes. And I'm sat there thinking, you can't even get £50 notes. Like, the only way that you get £50 notes is if you go to the bank and specifically ask them for a £50 note. You don't get them in ATMs and stuff like that usually. And I remember I spoke to someone afterwards and they were like, drug dealer, which is quite funny. I didn't think he was a drug dealer, but I don't know. But another funny time that I remember was, I think he said, I want to take you to a restaurant, right? So he did. It was in I would say it was in a rougher area of London, but it was very authentic. And we sort of sat like in one of these narrow restaurants. The doors were wide open. It was sunny. It was nice. I think it was nice anyway. And we sat down. And so I said to him, so what's your name? And he said, you know my name? And then he said his name. And I said, what's your real name? And he was like, and I said, I don't trust you. Can you just show me your ID? And I'm so cocky. This guy was twice my age. And I was just like, I'm going to need to see some ID, sir. Right? So he actually gets his ID out and lets me see it. And I remember like seeing his full name, and it was actually his name. But I think the name he gave me was like his middle name as his first name or something like that. I can't remember. I think it was something like that. But then I always knew he was trustworthy because he didn't flip out. But yeah, so it was just really funny. And I had so many really strange, like funny experiences with him. Like we'd go out to like these, sometimes it would be completely dead outside, but he was just so happy to see me, and we'd just hang out and like have a great time. But you know what? Oh my God, so this is some drama for you. I went to go visit him maybe three years ago, and he was living near Stratford. I don't think it was the nicest area that he was living in. It was like, maybe it was East Ham, like that area. You had to get the DLR to get there, I think. And it felt quite rough around the area. It didn't feel that safe. And I sort of sat down with him, and he was really skinny, and he's always been like a scary looking guy. Like, honestly, if you owed him drug money, you'd pay up, right? If you turn up at your doorstep. But he was really skinny, and I was like, what's happened? And he was like, oh, I've been dating someone, and I think they're cheating on me, and I think they might be a prostitute, and I'm in love with them, and it's my first proper relationship. Basically, he was just in a bit of a disaster. And I was just like, what are you doing? Like, I don't understand what you're doing. And it did turn out, I think the guy he was dating had like a drug addiction, like a big drug addiction that he wasn't trying to help. I think he was doing some prostitution to fund his drug addiction, which is, the whole thing is horrible, because he was horrible to my friend. My friend had a really sweet heart. I mean, I'm sure he was some sort of gangster mafia daddy, but like outside of that, he was a really sweet person, and I felt really bad for him. But I think I saw him more recently, sent me like a selfie, and he looked a bit like, he looked healthy again, like a good like shape and size and stuff. So I was like, oh, bless him. But I think it's funny sometimes how like sometimes you cross paths with people, and it's one of those situations that I struggle a bit with, because it's one of those risks that you have to be in it to win it, but it's really down to luck whether good things happen or bad things happen, right? So say for example, like most of my time when I first moved down south, a lot of my experiences were very, very positive. Like by complete luck, by complete chance, things often just went in my favour. And I almost thought that was a normal. And then years later, they didn't. And every single thing I did would end in disaster. And it's almost like something in the universe switched and was like, John, we gave you that good luck because you needed it. But now you need to go and make a life for yourself. Do you know what I mean? So it was really, really crazy. Oh my God, the stalker. I have to tell you about the stalker. So there was this person once when I was in my home city. I saw them like online randomly, like they popped up as someone that was near me, and I didn't talk to them, but I specifically remembered their face. They didn't message me, but I remember seeing them a few times nearby to me, and I didn't know why, because I was in different areas. But I went to college in the city that I grew up in the town centre, and one day I was at the train station and I saw this guy staring at me, and he didn't look particularly suspicious, but I noticed him looking at me. And this is back when I was like, I don't know, 16, 17, maybe 30s, like mid 30s. Never spoke to me, never did anything like that. Then I remember being down south in London, and you don't run into people in central London. Like, it's a very big place, it's very busy. Unless you go to a specific place that you know someone that goes there, you're not going to run into people, right? I was on the tube one day, and I sat down, and he sat down directly opposite me, like one seat, like ahead of me, and then to the right, one side where there was a space. And he kind of looked at me like casually, and I didn't think anything of it, but I was like, that's the guy from the train station. That's the guy that I've seen, like, right? Like, it was so strange. But then it got worse. Then it happened again. So then I'm sure I saw this person pop up again at some point on like a location app, and I was like, this is back when I used to use location apps and stuff to chat to people. But I remember seeing his face pop up, and I was like, I blocked him. I don't think he messaged me. I think one time eventually he did try to, but I was in a bar in Soho on the top floor, and I could see out onto the street, and I think I might have been with my friend that I just told you about, and I looked outside and I saw this guy walking by himself, and he's looking around like this, like looking all over the place. And obviously he didn't, like, I quickly put my head in and was like, don't look outside, but like, I know this guy, like this guy, I've seen him more than once now. And it was like he was looking for me, and it was so strange. I don't want to make myself out to be some big, like, important person. Like, I've had weird stalker experiences since I've been on social media. That's quite normal when you have like a reach with one of my other channels, but this was really strange. I was just literally a person that did not have a big online social media presence. I was a very private person, generally speaking. I didn't have a crazy number of friends. I had no idea how this person had found me. It must have been through an app like that I was using at the time. Yeah, I just remember like maybe in total there was 5 or 6 experiences of like being near this person, and I think once it was actually in a tube station that was one station away from where I was staying. So I was living in Waterloo, near Waterloo Station, and the next station was Embankment, and then it goes to Charing Cross in dead centre London. And he got onto the tube, I think that time I saw him, I think it was at Embankment, and I was like, I don't know if I was getting on at Embankment or if he was getting on there was something, but basically it was just super suspicious when it happened, and it was super like strange. I don't know what happened past that point. I might have just deleted everything that I was using at some point, and that might have been the end of it, but it was strange to see someone 250 miles away from my home more than once and then run into them again, right? To be fair though, I have a friend that I haven't seen in a really long time, but maybe when I was like 15 or 16, I used to talk to him on social media, just chit chat. I think one time he was like in my area and we were just talking and we made friends, and we were like, we've always just had this like pen pal connection where we would just chit chat now and again, like once a year we'd send each other a few messages. And I think I finally met him for the first time when I was like leaving London, and basically he was a complete stranger to me, but yeah, he picked me up in his car. He's from Essex and he drove me all the way to Manchester. He drove me all the way to Manchester and we went to like 2 parties. It was loads of fun. But it's weird. But basically my dilemma with this whole situation is that I've met many very important people in my life through social media and through location-based apps. I've met people that I've held so close to my heart for like 6 or 7 years. I've met people that I thought I was going to marry that turned out to actually already be married. Let's not go into that because that pissed me off a bit. But my point being, like, you really have to be in it to win it, right? You have to be a part of the chaos to be able to have the chance of bumping into people and meeting people like this. I have a super close friend that I've known for a long time, and I'm really fond of him. He's just a really good person. You know, when you find people and they just have a really pure soul and a really good heart, and sometimes they might be a bit of a dick and they might have some problems, but you know they're a really good person and you'll look out for them and you'll stick up for them and you'll stand by them for years, even if they disappear, even if they leave city, even if they go into hibernation, stop working, moving with the parents, and they're older, like 30s. You'll stay with them because you really just care about them and you know that they're worth the investment. And I've met people like this. Like, now the only people in my life are people that I've met organically through like various different avenues, like car scenes or like old friends I've grown up with. But like some of the most important people I've ever met in my entire life I've met through location-based apps. But those apps are also like poison. I'm sure you've probably heard of things like Tinder and stuff like that. And again, I've got another friend that I met through Tinder like years and years ago, like three years ago maybe, when I lived back in Manchester, and we're still in contact. And like he lives in Wales, and I think he's like manages like a company that like does bricks or something, or like stone. So like he has like a lorry and he goes to a quarry and gets the stones and then breaks them and chops them in like a big warehouse, and then people buy them to build things with them. And again, like I met him through like a random app like Tinder or something, and he came over to one of my friends' houses and we literally just became really good friends. But I don't use anything like that anymore. I keep so far away from anything that even has the reminiscence of like dating attached to it or anything similar to that, because it's like poison. It's like complete poison. Like, you know, this environment where people talk about like with so much choice, people are unwilling to commit, and people have this elevated sense of self-importance, like, oh, there's so many beautiful people in front of me, therefore I can afford to be a bit mean or a bit of a cow, or like I can afford to have high standards. And often people end up really unhappy with these sorts of social medias and stuff like that, because they think that just because they can see other people, that those people are like available. And I personally just remember like the past maybe 2 years of like being involved in anything to do with online dating. It's been really horrible. I think actually I wasn't doing any online dating when I was in a relationship a while ago, and then after that there's only a few months before I just decided, you know what, nothing. I don't even want to be in the game. I don't want to be dating. I don't want to be willing to even communicate with anyone in a romantic capacity. I need to focus on myself. And I did that, and now I have a house, now I have a reliable car, I have a great relationship with my friends, a great relationship with my family, and I still have things I have to work through, and I have, you know, like anyone has like general life drama, but I am way happier and way more stable than I used to be. And I wouldn't be like this if I hadn't stopped all of that and stopped, you know, putting my life on the line. But that was my issue. It wasn't the app's issues, it wasn't the other people's issues, it was my issue and what I felt I needed from the world, right? But my issue now and my dilemma is that I feel terrified to go back into like dating, and realistically nowadays it's really hard to date without online dating. Like, fair enough, you can meet people through friends, but for me it's kind of challenging for me. Like, I don't know how to describe it, but most of my friends I've known for a long time, and I'm generally very introverted, and most of my friends are the same, so they don't tend to be like people that have like hundreds of friends or go to parties. Like, they have friends that they go and visit and really close relationships, but not hundreds of them, right? So it's kind of challenging in that respect to meet people, which is fine because I don't have any agenda to meet anyone. I'm very happy. But my point being, it doesn't just have to be relationships and or sex or anything like that. But part of me sometimes questions, like, you met some of the most amazing people you've met in your entire life through these apps, because that's often in the city how people connect. If you remove yourself from them, how do you find people like that to connect with again? Because my reason to get rid of them and delete them and all of that was because of the toxicity of dating. But people now in my life, a lot of them, maybe we started out dating, but we became really good friends. That's just how we fit together. I feel like I'm closing the door on that, right? And I just think it's such this catch-22 with social media dating and these sorts of decisions, because if you're in, it's like you either have to be completely out of the storm and remain on land, or you have to dive headfirst into an ocean with high waves, with pollutants in the water, with ships sailing through, with piranhas. There's no middle ground. You can't really sit on the land and just like poke it, right? But that's how it feels for me anyway. So I'm sort of in this difficult situation, I guess, where I like the idea of having new people in my life. You know, generally you meet new people, you get new experiences, and obviously with COVID it's all messed up anyway, but I don't know, it's a really difficult thing to think about. And I realise I've gone completely off topic with this video, but that's, I guess, what a chit chat is all about. So that's really the conclusion for today's chit chat, and some funny stories for you. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, be sure to consider subscribing. This is a really fun channel for me, KuckiAsmr. I've been posting for a little while, but this is the first time I've come back properly and I'm really enjoying it. So if you've enjoyed the video, be sure to leave a like, and I will see you in the next video. Thank you for watching. Bye.